So on paper, this show really should just be your traditional power fantasy of a loser MC gets sent to a new world, everything works out better. But we're 3 episodes in, and even though I would argue episode 3 of I Got a Cheat Skill in Another World was probably the weakest out of the 3, it still was actually pretty well written for Yuuya as a character, and that's the thing that really separates this show from a lot in a similar setting, because the thing that I really hammered in last week was that, here's the thing, we have a character that episode 1 made us actually want to root for. He lives a horrible life. The one person in his life that was decent to him died pretty early, and he was left with what should have been a nice inheritance and just made his life living hell. Yes, he is literally the hottest guy around. He made that whole mall turn on its head just by being there. But even though you might be able to say, well, how can he still think he's ugly? Even if he dislikes himself, why would he still think he's ugly? Because that's what abuse does to someone. To be ridiculed your whole life, to think you're less than the worm on the ground. The fact that even looking in a mirror now, he can see something, and he is so destroyed internally that the physical form he currently has is still something that he still gets doubts of, oh, I must be too ugly to be a model. I really, really like that, because episode 1 took its time to make us root for Yuuya. It's not just like we saw a fat character get hit by a car and then immediately we're in a new world. No, we actually felt like, damn, this boy deserves more. And the fact that he's still having doubts. He's a lot happier now, and he's obviously improving his life, but I really appreciate that even with a show like this, hitting all the cliche notes, oh, fantasy world, now he has a princess wanting to marry him, is it just because she wants to get out of a political marriage, or is it just because it's isekai and that's how it works? Between the number of love interests between models to schoolmates that potentially will want him, Yuuya somehow avoids every single mind that would set off something to be an eye roll, and instead I'm like, an episode all about a shopping mall and modeling made me come out to like Yuuya as a person more, and I like the blend of isekai meets reality. Full live reaction is available on my Patreon if you're interested in seeing my full uncut thoughts. This one's great. I really enjoy this one. I really don't understand how some people have told me that, oh yeah, I remember in episode 1's comments, they were saying, oh yeah, once you get to episodes 2 and 3, you won't like this show anymore. It gets cliche. You'd have to clearly miss the point that Yuuya is supposed to be looked at as a character that is the walking example of self-hatred and self-loathing. And the fact that you can write something that hits almost every basic cliche note that this formula and genre is known for, yet because you have a character that you genuinely want to see and support, you can literally watch someone just have a goofy fun time and honestly get a kick out of it. It was silly, it was a little cliche in ways, but it wasn't a bad episode by any means. The fact that a simple moment of, I have money now, maybe I should go buy some clothes because even though this shirt apparently will never get dirty, I don't want to seem poor at this new school. Doesn't know what he's doing, and because the one model that was supposed to be there for this kind of boyfriend-girlfriend photo shoot, that's kind of like the theme of it, they had to find someone else to do the shoot. So they go across the mall and they find our boy. And honestly, just from a physical standpoint, he looks like he could be a goddamn idol in a lot of ways, right? He feels like he could be in a K-pop group or something. So the fact that he works, but he's awkward, and he's a horny teenager. I mean, if anyone's expecting him not to be flustered by a cute girl hugging him and pressing her chest, I mean, you're kidding yourselves that you weren't just as awkward at his age. Everyone has moments like that, and given the fact that he still sees himself as a fat, ugly character, because that's how he's always been treated. For him, all these moments of kindness, whether it's people looking at him in the mall or people looking at him at the photo shoot, man, how do people think of some guy like me doing this? The moment when he takes care of the scumbag who, honestly, most of the times when a character does the hand press against a wall, it usually becomes kind of romantic, like you're like, oh man, even I'm a little flustered by what they just did. But this drunken buffoon who came in like hours late, he just gave me predatory vibes, and the fact that Yuuya, because of his skills from the previous world, slow-mos, grabs him, flips him on his ass, and the fact that not only did the entire crowd see it and cheer for Yuuya, the photo shoot people literally had video proof and probably got his ass fired forever, and honestly, I loved it. This show is building him a harem. Whether it's the girl who got him into the school, whether it's the model who clearly is flustered and starting to be in love with him, whether it's a princess who declares, I want to marry you. I thought she just wanted a guard, but I still could be political marriage to get out of, or Hell, you're just One Punch Man of this world. Who doesn't want to be around you? You'd probably protect me my whole life. They're building him a harem without making him this type of character that you either A, say, why does everyone like him? And two, you also just say, oh man, like, he's not someone who's playing around, like, he seriously just hates himself so much that he's oblivious to a lot of these signs. He gets flustered, of course, but he's not some playboy, right? And I like it. Shoot me if you disagree, but like, seriously, I think this is a really solid watch. I do think this was the weakest out of the 3 episodes, but it's the fact that you spent, 18 minutes of this episode in a shopping mall, more or less? The fact that I could still have fun and focus on Yuuya as a character and say I really enjoy watching him, while I do think the normal world will be the most boring aspect compared to the fantasy side, because the fantasy side doesn't have a giant sword swinging around cutting off goblins. Shoot me, I can be action trash too. But the fact that I can enjoy an episode like this that continues to flesh him as a character, I love the fact that we're probably going to end this first season and I can probably still say, man, I'm glad he still has self-loathing aspects, but he's obviously improving. You started this episode with him smiling as he's basically working on his clothes, right? I love the fact that a boy ironing his shirts is feeling better than the poor fat kid who only could afford a cup of ramen because he was giving his money to thugs, right? It actually is a pretty solid series, all things considered. And they're actually doing some decent world building, I'd say, in terms of the fantasy side. We only get a little bit in this episode, but the fact that we're seeing all these guards struggling to just take care of these goblins, he comes in and he's one-shotting all of them. Not only does it show us just how different his level is compared to armored knights who protect a princess, they also bring up prior to that no one lives in those woods, meaning that his house is most likely, I mean, we know all the monsters try to get in through the gate, and it's protected by a barrier, but it pretty much says that he's living in the middle of a monster-infested woods, and pretty much that's like the ultimate hiding spot for someone who's going to be going to and from a isekai world to his normal reality. I still think this is one of the stronger watches of the season, and I'm honestly impressed by how many, what should be cliche moments, they technically are. But the thing that keeps a show refreshing or engaging for those who may kind of see those as an eye roll is if you can really either connect or feel empathy for a character. And the fact that Yuuya you want to root for, I love it. I mean, he denied the modeling job, which based on the end of the episode after the credits, seems like a lot of agencies are going to be trying to scoop him up because he's just the perfect model. Eventually, he's probably going to take the job, and I wouldn't be shocked if he takes it from the dude who literally was talking about spanking bums if they got in his way. I was like, okay, what's going on here? Flamboyant energy, but I love it. But I'm excited. There's a lot of potential for his normal world, but also there's the entire fantasy world. It basically is 2 different stories all wrapped up in one. One's an isekai fantasy package, and the other is a story about overcoming that self-loathing, self-hatred in a normal environment, and I really, really enjoy it. Thoughts and feelings yourself, though, down below. Let me know what you're thinking about I Got a Cheat Skill in Another World, and if you're going to be continuing it like myself, be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new around here. Remember to hit that bell as well when you're subscribing so you can get notified when I upload on the channel, and like I mentioned, we do that full live reaction available on my Patreon if you're interested, and while you're there, you can also get a video shout out. So today, we have a Darian Smith, Kowalchuk, and LC. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.